A Kanban is a very simple but incredibly powerful tool. There is a whole framework around it that sits very neatly within the Agile universe under the Agile umbrella. And what I want to do is just give you a few pointers about how to get started using them. When I first got introduced to these, I couldn't believe how simple they were. I always kept asking, what else do I need to know? But incredibly powerful at helping us do our work. So what Kanban means, it means visual signal or visual board, and it's this idea that we are looking, we can see what we need to do next. It works with two key ideas, two key principles. The first one is to make your work transparent. Make it visual, so it makes it easy to see, easy to know where we are and what we're doing. And the second key idea is to minimize the work in progress. So we're not multitasking, we're not overloading ourselves. We're actually keeping life nice and tight and simple. The simplest of Kanban boards will look something like this. You have 3 columns: to do, doing, and done. And what we do is we fill out the to-do column, with the things that we want to do. We move them across into doing whilst we're working on them. And then as we finish them, we move them into done. Some people like to delete them. I like to keep them there in the done column. I find it motivational to know just how much we have accomplished, because it's easy to forget just how much we have done. So as you can see here, we're visualizing then our work. And again, the second principle there, limit that work in progress. And I always think maybe 2 things is enough in the doing column. It depends on what you're doing, how big your team is, and so on. But for me, in my personal Kanban, I think a couple of things at a time are easy to manage, and you can switch between the two if something is blocked or whatever, but limit it where possible. Find your own limit for yourself. So what happens as you finish something that you're doing, it then moves into done. And then we're ready to pull the next item across from to do. If we are using the principle of thinking of the to do column in terms of a product backlog, of course, we will be prioritizing that and putting the most valuable things to us at the top. So we follow that principle as well. And the other thing is that if you've got something in the doing column and suddenly something becomes more urgent, more important, more valuable, then what we do is we move an item out of the doing column back into to do. So we move it back so that we can maintain that limit on our work in progress. That's the principle that we do there. Lots of different principles, but I'm just giving you some basics to get us started. So here are some examples then of some Kanban boards. Some simple ones, to do, doing, and done there, 3 columns. But often you can have some which have more columns. In this case, you've got 6 columns there. I've seen some with more than that. And again, with different items heading up those columns. The columns can be used for different things. They can be digital, electronic items, or they can be physical as well. And the first few Kanbans that I used, that I came across, were physical Kanbans. But I prefer the digital ones because I can then carry that around with me on my phone and so on. There are lots of tools which use Kanban boards. I use Miro, so there's a Kanban board within that, and most of us are using Office 365, so you'll have Planner there, which again sits neatly on a mobile phone, so we can do that. But again, it doesn't have to be digital, it can be physical. And this one here, an example, Dave Michel, a friend of mine, this is the Kanban that he uses for his family. So for everything that's happening with family work and things that need to happen, they go onto that Kanban board there. How do we connect Kanban to other frameworks? So just to give you an example, just again to get us started here, the Kanban guide for Scrum teams, there'll be a link to that in the text, gives you some pointers as to how to do that. This is a very, very short guide, not many pages at all. It covers a couple of important things. It talks about the 4 basic metrics that Scrum teams using Kanban should think about. I'll let you go into the actual document and read all of that rather than read it out to you here. So it gives you those metrics and that you can follow. And again, that just helps improve the work, the feeling and the whole work that we're doing makes things better, faster, etc. And then the other thing is the Kanban principles. So they mentioned the first two that I've already talked about: visualize your workflow and limit your work in progress. They also suggest two more, and these are ways of optimizing your use of Kanban and optimizing your flow. But again, let's keep things super simple. That KISS principle, keep it super simple. Three things here then: respect the current roles, the current processes, and the current tools. Don't just start all over again. Just put things into those three columns and get started with that. Start with whatever it is you're doing right now. That's a great way to think about things. Start with what you're doing right now, rather than starting all over again with something new. In fact, most things that you're currently doing can easily fit into a Kanban board, and you can start to visualize your work right there and then. And then finally, as always with Agile, experiment and adapt. Make sure that you are changing it and applying the things that work for you and that you need to make happen. It's a fantastic tool. There's lots to learn about it, but just getting started with it will have a significant impact on how we control our work.